Well, hello, folks out there in YouTube land. Got a big show lined up for you. Let's get right on into it. All right, yeah, it's just getting worse. This lawsuit situation with Michigan. Of course, they're waiting on the NCAA to make the decision on the penalties that they're going to be dealing with, which almost certainly will be substantial. But they have another problem, which we've documented on this channel, and many other channels have covered this too. They got a lawsuit because of this Matt Weiss dude. And that's just, I've never seen a school in more trouble over more things. And this is all over the news. Several key individuals have been added to the lawsuit from Matt Weiss's hacking case. Jim Harbaugh, Santa Ono, and Ward Manuel as well has been added. And this has to do with Matt Weiss basically hacking into people's personal accounts from dozens of colleges, and it's just a big old mess. And this has to do with a class action lawsuit. 11 women accusing Weiss of hacking into their accounts, stealing personal photos and videos, etc. There are 74 additional women, and there's just, it's going to be a ridiculous number of individuals that were hacked when it's all said and done. And Ono, Harbaugh, and down here it talks about Ward Manuel all being added to the list of individuals in the lawsuit. And the reason they've been included says, as part of the amended lawsuit, the plaintiffs are accusing the university of allowing Matt Weiss to coach in the 2022 Fiesta Bowl versus TCU, despite already knowing he had illegally accessed private photos. And their accusation is the university put the interest of the university football team ahead of those of the victimized female students, further discriminating against the plaintiffs and class members. And here they're basically saying, even though it knew Weiss was behind the breach of the personal, private, and intimate images, it allowed Weiss to coach in the 2023 National Championship semifinal Fiesta Bowl. It said only after the game on January 5th, over 2 weeks after it received notice of Weiss's conduct, did the university even put the incident on its police blotter. And then they fired Weiss on January 20th, shortly after putting him on leave. And then the FBI showed up and charged him with 14 counts of unauthorized access and 10 counts of aggravated identity theft. And they're accusing him of getting the personal data of over 3,000 student athletes, mostly women. And of course, Jim Harbaugh said he wasn't aware of the allegations at the time. And look, Jim Harbaugh has used the Sergeant Schultz defense on multiple occasions. He had no idea about Connor Stallions. He had no idea about the recruiting violations. He had no idea about Matt Weiss, no idea of any of this. Was clueless.
Oh, I see nothing. I was not here. I did not even get up this morning.
Yeah, he saw nothing, but he's going to be dealing with this lawsuit. Now let's talk about Michigan here a little bit. This is just one of many problems that they have. They've got the NCAA, of course, they're waiting on the Committee on Infractions to probably lower the boom on them. I mean, that's just almost certainly what's going to happen. You know, this Connor Stallions thing, he had been stealing signs for, this is not even the Matt Weiss stuff. Stealing signs for 2.5 years, changed the complexion of the game for Michigan dramatically. Prior to him showing up, it wasn't even close. They had lost 24 games under Jim Harbaugh, and he even took a 50% pay cut just to be able to stay as head coach because they were so disappointed in him. And then Connor Stallions, with his magical analyst powers, over the next 3 years, they lost 3 ball games. They went from winning percentage in the 60s to over 90, which is unbelievable. And the reason TCU beat them in that game is because they found out that they had stolen their signs and signals. They had been warned about it, and they had a month to get ready. And the coach even talked about it in an interview with Outkick, that they were aware of it, and he changed the signs, and he felt like it made a difference. And I couldn't understand how TCU beat Michigan that year because talent-wise, it wasn't even close. But then TCU played Georgia straight up. They didn't have that advantage. Michigan created the advantage for TCU. I'm not blaming TCU for what they did. I give them high marks. But Georgia just beat the crap out of them because TCU they had backed into that playoff and sort of just held on by their fingernails and got into the final game, and then Georgia just, it was awful. But Michigan's now going to pay for all those transgressions. And what brought me into this, and if you've watched this channel, you know, there was a lot of heavy rumors and circumstantial evidence that Mr. Connor, through a third party probably, had sent the signals and signs of Tennessee and Clemson to South Carolina. And I've shown you folks this mountain of evidence, circumstantial evidence. Of course, the individual with direct knowledge saying that Michigan may have reached out to a team that could help them derail some teams on a playoff run. Beamer has a history of taking information, even though I don't think Beamer was the guy that directly was involved. It was probably an analyst if it happened.
Allegedly.
I mean, I can't prove this, but God, it's just, you look at this stuff. The fact that South Carolina had scored 16 points in the 2 prior games against Missouri and Florida, and then they suddenly scored 9 straight touchdowns. They'd scored 1 touchdown against Missouri and Florida, 1 in 2 games. And then they scored 9 straight against a playoff-bound team.
9 times?
9 times.
Make sense of that. Then they went and beat Clemson, who was another playoff-bound team. And South Carolina was weak that year. They were struggling. And then suddenly, poof, and then went 2-7 the next 9 games. Next 9 games won 2 after beating 2 playoff-bound teams. Same quarterback, same head coach. Makes sense of that. And then, oh, I hadn't forgot about this. They had special little wristbands that they wore against Tennessee. Hadn't worn any wristbands all year. But only for that game did they need it all of a sudden. I wonder why. Isn't that weird?
Yeah. Weird.
Yep, and then they played us next year at Neyland, where it's really loud, where if you were going to use a wristband, that's where you'd use it. And they didn't bother to use the wristbands. They got their butts whooped, of course, because they didn't, have an advantage, in my opinion. But they didn't need the wristbands. Now, if you've ever played athletics, if you've ever played sports at a high level, and you had the best game of your life, the best execution ever in the history of South Carolina football against a playoff-bound team, and you change from using the wristbands to not, no athlete would do that. Nobody would do that. That's literally insane. Oh, I just went and, I've been shooting 80 on the golf course, and I went and made this adjustment with my swing, and I shot 62. But you know what? Getting ready to go to another tournament, I don't think I'll use that swing adjustment anymore. I think I'll go back to how I usually did it. Would you? Would you really? And I don't know if we'll ever get the truth out of this because Connor has clammed up like crazy. He's trying to be the martyr or something for Michigan. I don't know. They love him up there, though. They should. He got him a natty. I mean, he changed their whole direction of their team and everything. I give him. He's analyst of the century. That guy. And he was making $60,000 a year, but somehow had all this money to pay for all these scouts to go around and record all these games so they could dissect their plays and their signals. I don't know where he came up with the money. Somebody said it was from selling used vacuum cleaners.
I said don't disturb you, I'm cleaning a room!
Anyway, getting back on the subject, old Santa Ono, who had signed an 8-year extension at Michigan, by the way, 8 years, decided he would leave Michigan. I think he realized that not only was a hammer coming, but this is a big mess too. He may have just said, I just don't need any of this. And I think he thought he had the job, and he probably had been sort of promised it. But I think the Board of Governors said, we don't need this crap.
You get nothing! You lose! Good day, sir!
And of course, Harbaugh ran off to Los Angeles Chargers after the season when he won the Natty with Connor's help, which I cannot blame him for that. He knew. Look, they've had it out for Harbaugh. They already had him over the recruiting thing. Then they had him over the Connor Stallions thing. And Big Ten hammered him, nailed him for 6 games. He was suspended. And then you've got the current head coach, which is Sherrone Moore. He's already been hit over the recruiting violations once, so now he's a repeat offender. And then he erased, 52 text messages from Connor when word came out that Connor was doing all this sign stealing and been discovered. But he said he did it because he was mad at Connor. not because he was trying to hide anything, because that's what you do. You get mad at somebody, you just delete their text. Okay, that makes sense. He's going to get hit. I think he's going to get a 1-year show cause and here's the weird part. He's probably going to get suspended for 4 games. As you know, they're trying to suspend him for 2, the 2 that he handpicked, which is silly. But he's probably going to get 4, but then I think he's going to get a 1-year show cause because he's a repeat offender. Can you coach with a show cause at the same school that you're at? We don't know. We're going to find that out if that occurs. I don't know how you can become a repeat offender and eliminate those texts and not get hit pretty hard. And while I don't think it's the end of the world that he deleted those texts, it is, you just can't do that. You cannot do that kind of stuff. So, especially being a repeat offender, so it's going to get messy. And the Michigan folks think, look, here, Michigan folks, and I know there's a few of you hate watching this, you're going to get hit pretty hard with probably a 2-year a bowl ban. That would be my guess. Why in the world you guys didn't self-impose a bowl ban this last year when you were 7-5 makes no sense to me. I mean, that game against Alabama in the history of the annals of Michigan football doesn't mean crap. You could have let that go and gone ahead and had 1 year out of the way. Because here's the deal. Y'all got plenty of money. You're going to spend it on your football team, and you got a chance to get in the playoffs. And because you didn't just go ahead and get rid of that Alabama, whatever the crap, Tidy Bowl championship or whatever it was, you might end up getting knocked out of the playoffs in a year or two, which was just fool. Just take your medicine. You're not going to get the death penalty. You're probably going to get hit pretty hard with a bowl ban. You may or may not lose the Natty. I had originally thought you probably would because any time in the past you definitely would have. I mean, how can you have a guy on your team for 2 years and 7 games? The 7 games, the season you won the Natty, how does that work that those wouldn't be vacated and that wouldn't take the Natty from you? But because Charlie Baker and his group of mistake makers came out and said, oh, well, they won that championship fair and square, I guess the game itself, they may have painted themselves in a corner. We don't know. I know in the past this wouldn't even been a thought. All those games would be vacated, Natty'd be taken, and that'd be that. But we're in 2025, and things are very different. As far as any long-term ramifications of this, after a couple of years, you'll probably be fine. You're going to get hit with a bunch of scholarship reductions, but that really doesn't make that big a difference because now we're at 105 instead of 85 that you're allowed to have. And you've got the revenue sharing plus NIL, which y'all will work around that for sure. So, yeah, you're going to get hit for a couple of years. 1 year, which you could have eliminated if you'd just been smart about it. And then you should be fine after that, because it's 2025. There's only so much you can do to a team anymore. And, of course, you'll have a huge fine, which, let me tell you something. The fine you're going to get from the NCAA is going to be nothing compared to these class action lawsuits. That might be your biggest problem because I know you've got a bunch of big donors, but I'm going to tell you, those donors may not want to have to pay for a class action lawsuit. That's going to be very significant. Thousands of female student athletes got hacked. Where was your security on that kind of stuff? That's what is going to happen. You would think Michigan would settle this, but it's going to take a lot of money. Whew. It's ugly. And boy, I tell you, this is a lesson for all universities. You had better secure your servers because, man, you don't know when somebody gets into a computer what the crap they're up to. I mean, who would have thought an offensive coordinator, quarterback coach making tons of money with a family would be doing something this foolish? I mean, it's just, oh my gosh, you talking about dumb. Woo! I mean, this is dumb on an epic level. Anyway, that's your update for today. Things are getting worse and worse up there. And I do look forward to the NCAA coming out with their decision, and we'll start getting some resolution to this thing. I think Michigan's played hardball on this and fought the NCAA the whole way, which is, it must be that the NCAA wanted some serious sanctions against them. Otherwise, they would have settled. I mean, why wouldn't you? Pay some money and be, $15 million or whatever it's going to be in fines and scholarships and all that. Even if it was a bowl ban, I mean, you could have taken, I don't know. It's just, none of this makes any sense what Michigan's done. But anyway, it's just, this is what happens. F around. Anyway, If you like this content, be sure to hit that like button. Let's me know continue to cover all these big college sports stories. If you've not subscribed, boom, 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 hit this little button right here. It won't cost you a dime. Help you get these types of videos. And right over here is the most recent video, YouTube. Thanks, you'll enjoy. We'll see you next time on Sports Talk Jay.
I'm just curious. I saw you shuffling your checks with your right hand. Can you do that with both hands?
No.
Can't do it with both hands.
No, sir.